Tonight is Soup City Sins Obscura Book 2. I'm your storyteller, Nobody. I am your number one fan, and, well, we are only waiting for the other players to arrive. And tonight's episode is These Sad Tears of Why. But the important part, the important thing, what questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners do we have that need rounding off? Lovely. Well, into this understanding of where we are, I would like to offer my thanks. I spent a lot of today dealing with associated problems and emotionality. And so while the day was relatively easy as far as actual paid labor, it has been one of those days, and I always look forward to it, not just on days like today, but in general, the opportunity to get to know these characters, to continue knowing you all and enjoying the efforts and energies of your imaginations. My thanks is eternal, immortal, and there's no way that I can ever possibly repay you enough for all of your time. Thank you. Without further ado, without continuing to beat this horse until it's long past dead, resurrected, and dead again, this is officially Soup City Sins Obscura, Book 2, Episode 2. These Sad Tears of Why. We immediately pick up seconds after the close of Floods of Shadows. We immediately pick up with the elder gentleman standing at the table's edge and the dark-haired woman moving towards the door to secure exits. We immediately pick up with a situation that happens fairly often in Chicago. Something overheard, something seen, something glimpsed, something that stands out to one or more parties, causing an uptick of attention. Oftentimes it grows into something occasionally positive, but more often than not, it descends into the chaos of violence, either social, emotional violence, or actual physical violence. In those moments with Chicago as a whole, as a monolithic entity, and individually, it always comes down to, that's great, my dude, but can you beat my ass? And while the halcyon days of dueling in the streets and families be getting involved and communities closing in on themselves for a good slobber knocker, a good dog walking, those days have drifted into the past. Most of those duels that would have previously ended with swollen lips, black eyes, and various minor cuts, scrapes, and bruises, oftentimes in the modern age result in someone being maimed, mortally wounded, police involved, lives altered. So while the sentiment is still there, oftentimes these moments in today either end before they begin or descend into absolute chaos. And as he stands there leaning on the table, it is unsure what the outcome might be. I know you all who are, of course, just simply enjoying your drinks and your desserts. However, as the saying goes, you may know too much. So forgive me for intruding. I would like you all to. And with that, he begins pushing the energy of his aura into the space amongst you. You all can feel it. It's almost as if you are tuning into an old-fashioned radio station, and jazz, ragtime jazz, and deep acid jazz begins wafting through the air. And while you can't hear anything with your actual physical ears, there is the feeling of something extemporaneous. There is the feeling of something happening between the words. There is something oozing and crawling over your skin, an invisible strength of will. Would each of you all be so kind as to roll your resistance with any bonuses? Would be either your resolve plus occult, or if you don't have occult, your resolve plus composure. Your DC is 3.
Am I allowed to use resolve and composure if my composure is higher?
Not if you have occult.
Would identity and memory help in this one at all?
No. It's funny about that.
And I know I keep asking this, but is our glamour at full, or are we at like 1 lost glamour?
Always start at 1 and then add that to your die pool. Much the same way as hunger.
I forgot my hunger there, but the question is I'm not at the table. Am I even rolling?
Yes. You want to go ahead and reroll with your glamour / banality.
Sure.
Getting a call from mainland China. I don't know anyone in mainland China. I mean, we'll ignore that. Things happen. They always do. There's there is an impossibility that anything will ever remain the same. That is the one constant in every version of our universe. That is the one constant in every life, that change happens. Mysterious things crossing the eye, things forgotten. You know you left it just right there, and there's been no one around, yet it's gone. Whatever it was. You walk into a room and forget why you're there. And while Harmony has picked up on the real fact that there is a threat present, the lady standing before her is very much not a threat. A little pale, a little older than she clearly looks, but there's no threat immediately apparent. There's no harm on its way. She knows she was moving towards something. She knows she was moving towards a threat. She knows that she was setting about to do something. But in the moment, it just isn't there on the tip of her tongue. It isn't there in her mind's eye. And as you all at the table feel that touch of something crawling across the skin, as you all hear the music between the notes, as you hear something, there's no effect to it. It's just, oh, that's nice. He's got a magical personality. Isn't that cute? To which he responds, why, you all are in fact strong-willed indeed. Would you all be so kind as to... And he reaches into his pocket, pulling out this old, thick billfold. Not a wallet. A good old-fashioned late 1920s billfold. And he pulls several crisp dollars from it. Several crisp bills, and sits it on your table. This meal on me, and vacate the premises, if you would. And he looks towards the woman at the door just past Harmony's shoulder, giving her a nod, and she steps to the side. What is it that you all do?
Royal looks at him and she smirks and can't help herself. Did you just try to flashy thing me, Kay?
That is something, isn't it? Perhaps not. Erichto, would you be so kind? And the woman who had previously stepped to the side moves back in front of the door, resting against it, using her left hand to, in fact, lock the door. There are certain things, incidental things, small things, he says as he takes a step back from the table, resting both hands on the cane, which has never left his grip this entire time. As he rests both hands on the cane, the woman at the door draws a relatively dainty box cutter-esque knife from her sheath on her forearm. And instead of lunging at Harmony, she simply takes the blade and runs it down the center of her palm, opening her skin. The hint of melons filling the immediate space around her and growing richer and deeper as her slightly dark bluish blood reaches the air and begins to oxygenate and turn a bright scarlet red, welling up in the center of her palm. I, like most people, enjoy a bit of privacy and don't mind paying for it, but in light of a particularly strong will, I believe we may have to resort to other means. I do apologize. And he smiles. As he smiles, his immaculately bright and white teeth seem to catch the light. And whereas there's normally a slight carnivorous aspect to most people's canine teeth, his seem significantly longer than they should. Then he licks his lips. And his eyes, one slightly bluer than the next, they both seem to lose their color as he looks at the table and looks towards Harmony.
Well, assuming I forgot what I was doing, correct?
Yes. You're not at peace. Your emotions don't change, but you did forget what you were doing.
Well, a woman cutting her palm open and the blood swirling around is definitely not normal. I believe that she is going to use a contract at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be Ermine's winter coat, which will make her blend into her surroundings. Becoming difficult to see clearly. Which mechanically translates into a +3 to stealth rolls and a -3 on attacks against her.
Yes. And as his eyes go dead and you begin to flicker out of existence, Airshell still concentrating on the pool of thick, clearly arterial blood welling up in the palm of her hand. He raises his left hand off of his cane. One moment, Magister. One. Just one. You are not, in fact, kind. Perhaps we may be overstepping. What exactly are you?
Aurora looks to Hazel and Kira, the raised brow, like, do we say anything or do we tell them what they want to know? Because they're obviously weird too.
We've been likened to Little Red Riding Hood.
He looks down at his relatively bright red overcoat, then back to you, a frown beginning to develop. Fables. You're saying that you fables.
Got people like Hansel and Gretel better. I'm a big fan of Eurydice and Orpheus myself.
He purses his lips. He looks towards the door and the flickering of reality between him and Erich still. Most people would respond absolutely horrendously to reality rippling and shifting before their eyes. He merely cocks his head slightly askew before frowning back at the table. Perhaps it's best if we do not cross each other's path. And turns on his heels, moving towards the door. It's clear that he has every intention of taking Erichto and leaving. You all may, of course, stop, impede, or otherwise engage, but it is clear that his destination is the door and whatever lies outside of it.
Hazel will hold her hand up and wave. I appreciate the coffee, thank you.
The opening and closing of the door sounds odd. The tinkle of the bell, the unrealized exhalation of a moment. There is the very real understanding or feeling that you've all managed to dance past the fire. You've managed to leap over it without singeing yourselves. Yet there is a quality of threat escaped that sits there.
Ira finally exhales from after holding her breath that whole time. Oh my god, why are we seeing so many of those things? What the hell are they?
You really don't know?
I mean, thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, pointy teeth. And the other one was doing some sort of thing with blood, so 2 and 2 together would mean that they're Edward Cullen.
No,
Oh, the
what?
whole thing could just be a witchy thing.
I mean, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that Dracula is real, but it's still weird how... It's still weird seeing it.
Wait, you said Dracula.
Yes.
I think I figured something out. And I'm not liking what I figured out.
And what did you figure out that you don't like?
Dracula
The
can
apartment people?
mind whammy people. No, Dracula could mind whammy people apparently and get into their dreams and shit, according to the book and the movie. The strippers at Tyke's job are all acting really fucking weird, like somebody had messed with their brain. That dude just tried to mess with our fucking brain. I think whatever killed Tyke was one of those things.
That
We can mess with
That's
people's
why he didn't
brains.
win. Yeah, but fangy teeth and messing with people's brains.
okay. All in favor of avoiding them as much as possible, say aye. Aye.
Of course.
I'm sorry, but if anything can kill Tyke that easily, that's not something that I want to run into.
I mean, we don't know it was easy.
Probably not, and we just outsmarted it, so obviously it's because Tyke wasn't that smart. He just hit things a lot.
He does like
Obviously,
think.
they like
Yeah,
fight.
he usually wins.
So,
Did we outsmart it, or did it just decide perhaps that we were an unknown quantity and maybe it didn't want to test the waters?
Hard to say.
Tomato.
So leeches notwithstanding, what's our next move here?
I believe we were discussing trying to save my father from the whatever it is that is invaded my home.
Oh, yes. Let's be about that then.
So before we head over there, I just want to explain the situation a little bit more. As far as my father is concerned, I never left. My fetch is still alive and well and has been living my life in my place. So however we go about this, it'd be ideal if he never saw us directly. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of explaining, and I'm not sure he's ready for that.
Skulking is within my skill set, but I don't know about the rest of you.
It's generally not terribly difficult for me.
I've picked up a few things from Hazel, so I'm pretty good at staying out of sight. And then Kira looks at Aurora. As for you, just try not to turn on the light power, I guess.
When she first looked at Aurora kind of looked behind her, but then she realized that they were, honey, I am the party. I will be distracted. Ta-da!
No one needs all that optimism.
All right. I will do my absolute best to blend in like a good cut crease.
So how exactly do you want this dealt with?
Oh, ideally, I want to first find out who and what has been living with him all this time, and most importantly, why. Once we figure all that out, I think we'll have to deal with it from there. But if they are in any way harming my father, then they need to go.
Fine. Go is vague. We'll improvise.
Sleeping with the fishes, wearing cement shoes, you know.
Maybe we don't have to get that violent, but we can scare them off, send them on their way.
I mean, sleeping with the fishes would certainly scare them off and send them on their way.
Kira looks to Hazel with a look of like, come on, try and help me here.
Ideally, no death or dying. Disappearing, encouraging to move to other locations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
So we're working towards a divorce.
If it turns out that they are harming him, then yes.
All right.
Only one way to find out.
Off we go then.
So you all gather your things and trundle across Hyde Park, heading north into the little space known as Kenwood. Now, Kenwood, as far as anyone outside of Chicago, in fact, most people who don't live in Hyde Park, is considered, in fact, very much part of Hyde Park. And Kenwood and Hyde Park, it's a difference of thousands of dollars in terms of annual income. It's a difference in hundreds of dollars in terms of rent, mortgage, and the like. On the surface, Kenwood tries twice as hard for 3/4 of the amount of prestige and acclaim that is naturally gifted to Hyde Park. Hyde Park is an association, a community unto itself. It technically is its own city within the city. Being a resident of Hyde Park has a certain prestige here on the south side of Chicago that living in the Kenwood area does not. Many young aspirants to the fame and accolades of living in Hyde Park that reside in the Kenwood area tell everyone they're in North Hyde Park, or they just simplify the lie and just say that they live in Hyde Park. Kenwood is the area where Elijah Muhammad lived. It's the area where Farrakhan lives. It's the area where Muhammad Ali had a house when he lived here in Chicago. It's the area where those affluent and well-to-do actually reside. The only problem is no one knows it's there. And that can be seen by the well-kept lawns, the very wide sidewalks, the buildings which are cleaned, tuck-pointed, and maintained monthly, if not weekly. It's the place where a condo, is all that a house could ever hope to be. Wide, expansive floors, large bay windows, enough privacy with fences and wrought iron gates, as well as security and privacy fences that allows a family to feel like they are living in the suburbs while being very much in the heart of the city. So moving across Hyde Park and into Kenwood, you all notice that the sidewalks get further and further from the street. You notice the lawns stretch wider and longer. You notice that the quality of the car, though the flashiness, drops precipitously, but the quality of the vehicles parked curbside typically outstripe most of the vehicles you have grown accustomed to seeing in Hyde Park. And that's the problem. Privacy gets you secrets. Privacy creates spaces where dreams often die. It's the pretty girl that no one likes because everyone believes they don't have a chance with her. And being, as you all are, beings of emotion, you can feel the aura and energy of places. And this is a place where they sleep tend to not dream. They are well enough off that their fantasies are banal little things. It's the usual. They're naked in front of the class. It's the usual. They're falling and never reach the ground. It's the usual. They're overwhelmed with work, and the pile just keeps growing, no matter how fast they work. It's the usual, which is in and of itself unusual. There's always a bright spark. There's always a flash of imagination, or a child who has a boundless imaginary world to exist within. Yet, as you all make your way across one sidewalk after the next, getting closer to take in the well-heeled condo and the family inside, the sameness of the feel all around you is, well, depressing. It's the sameness, the same small dreams, the same small emotions, nothing big, nothing bright, almost as if it is a garden where the same flower has been planted over and over and over and over again. And those few weeds or flowers that are not planted there purposefully are pruned and cultivated so that even they seem the same.
And Aurora I guess they're all walking in a group, and so she doesn't want to be too loud because obviously this is a nice place and people are weird in very nice places. So leans kind of towards the group. I don't know what's going on, but it feels like somebody has sucked all the joy and spontaneity out of the area. Like, all the wants and dreams are like beige slacks normal, and everybody's wearing the same pair of beige slacks. There should at least be like a plaid skirt in here somewhere, but there's none. And I am not liking the way this feels.
I don't like the implications of what you just said. I don't like those implications at all, in fact.
Follow it to its source.
That's the thing. I think we are. I think whatever. I'm guessing here. This might just be like a huge leap of logic, but I'm known for those. Whatever we're hunting, or whatever it is that's married to your dad, that you don't know what it is, may be responsible for this weird dream sameness. Because it seems to be getting stronger the closer we're getting to your house. I'm assuming that's where we're going.
As Kira thinks about it more, she gets more and more worried about her father if he's literally in the epicenter of this.
As well you should. Because as you begin to get worried, as is always the case, the mind tries to distract. The mind tries to throw hurdles and roadblocks to falling down those paths of thought. No one and nothing enjoys pain. And there is some pain there that doesn't make sense. Because, being perfectly honest, there are very few things of your life before Arcadia, and very few things of your life in Arcadia that stand out as accurate memories. But one thing that you keep avoiding, one of the things that crosses the mind and keeps running and you try to scare it on, is this feels normal. When you think back to all of those happy little moments in your life before what happened in Obscura and the world across the hedge, before you were in Apocrypha, this is what it felt like. You remember many hours sitting on the stoop, watching the street, daydreaming, but can't remember what you were daydreaming about. You've heard that it's normal for kids to have imaginary friends, and for even teenagers to have a vivid imagination. When you attempt to put your finger on it and drag those memories to the fore, you can't say that you had one of those. Even now, trying to picture it in your mind, there is a threadbare outline, and not even those lightly, brightly colored pastel images. There's literally an outline in a handwriting you know as your own. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Watch Dukes of Hazzard reruns with Father. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Lay awake in bed until the lights outside go off. Friday, watch my sister play and try to figure out how to get an imagination. Saturday, think about Friday. And on they go. You realize that somewhere along the way, you became a khaki slack wearing individual. You can't put your finger on the when. You just know you had an imagination. Every kid does, according to everything that you've read and remember reading. Yet, you can't remember yours.
And now Kira is starting to think even further on that and wondering if this felt normal to her, then how long has this really been going on for?
Everyone floats at their own pace, Kira. Everyone floats at their own pace.
We all float down here.
Very much so. There is that pops in the head, because you now, having existed the way that you have, you understand that there are more things in heaven and earth. And your imagination has blossomed into being. But if you were to be honest with yourself, that is another aspect, that is another complication of your time across the hedge. All too soon, you are standing across the street from your home, your father's condominium. The building being a prime example of what a courtyard building is. The lawns wide and long, opening into a gated area inside which there are 4 different doors leading to 4 different buildings, each with 3 condos. Ground floor, which is technically a half a floor above street level, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. Your father owns the center building in its entirety. The first 2 floors are his. And as you stand here, looking at the painted wrought iron gate, the well-kept manicured lawn, the sconces near the doors that will come on as the sun goes down, the tuck-pointed building, well-maintained and cared for to the point where it's stripped of any of the natural occurring character of homes lived in. And it's exactly as you remember. There's the stoop where you used to sit. There's the window where you used to lean and watch the street through the gate. The curtains even look almost exactly the same as you remember them. You're sure they've been changed, but yeah, those curtains, those blinds, that home.
So I presume this is the place. How would you like to proceed? And what sort of security is there?
Security? This is a residential home.
Doesn't have an alarm system or doorbell cameras or any of that.
No doorbell camera from what I remember. And, well, I think we have an alarm, but it's really not much of one. I don't think Dad ever said it, to be quite honest with you. Too much of a hassle for him. About the most secure things were to lock the doors and windows. That's about it.
Harmony will skulk towards the house at that point and see what she can ascertain about getting in or being seen or any of that stuff.
Until she crosses the street and begins casing the place. Be so kind as go ahead and roll your... One quick second. Let me open my notes, which I probably should have already had open, but you know I'm lazy and forgetful. And my system's being a jackass. It's slow. Sorry.
It's all good.
There we go. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus either larceny or computer? It's ridiculous how many people take their safety and security for granted. As you cross the street and stand outside of the courtyard, which leads to the building, just outside of the wrought iron gate, several young kids, i.e. high school age, move past you along the sidewalk, bopping and beeping along to their own phones and taking pictures of themselves as they move. Hooded as always, skinny hoods that fit the outline of their bodies and barely cover their head, and in the doing, well, even though they're not wearing skinny jeans, they might as well, considering that you know what size underwear to buy them if you were going to buy them such things for Christmas gifts. But people don't take their security seriously, the gate is unlocked. The very large blinking security camera on the front portion of the building clearly doesn't go anywhere as far as you can tell. There's not even any wires from it to a power source. The windows are just high enough where you'd have to stretch a little bit to grab onto the ledge and pull yourself up and in, but based on how the building, the stonework is put together, how it's been built, there's lots of places to rest your toes and pull yourself up through any of those windows. You're sure that it's almost exactly the same on the backside, because there's no real honest security here. You don't see any of the little streamlined Ring doorbell systems or any of the like. The windows look like all it would take to unlock them from the outside is a screwdriver or a coat hanger or a nice long sword or just a thin knife, actually. And those are definitely not double pane windows, so there's no argon gas, there's no 2 panes of glass to break through. They don't look armored at all. Slightly like someone maybe put tint on them, but that's about it. This building is old enough and exploitable enough that it might as well not be locked at all, just like the wrought iron gate between them and the street.
Did you ever sneak out when you were little?
No. I wasn't really that kind of kid, to be honest.
Why would you sneak out? Danger is out there in the dark. Why would you leave the warmth and safety?
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird the things that spark memory. It's weird how seconds, minutes, hours before you didn't remember that night where you couldn't sleep. We're staring at the ceiling until the lights for the day came. That you forgot you were laying there. You just watched the movie with your dad. It was, can't remember, something about kids in a mountain made of witches. Taxi driver, the guy from the cop show on TV. He was the driver, and no, it wasn't that. It was something like that. It was something close, maybe the third or fourth or fifth version of it. You're not sure. You remember it was a movie you watched. It didn't make sense. Before your sister was gone. It was before things changed. It was before. No, it was during. It was right before, during. And you were there in bed. And there were fingers. Long, thin fingers. Raising along the edge of your bed. Crawling up out of the darkness there. You tried not to see them. So you stared at the ceiling. And you tried not to feel them, but you stared up at the ceiling. You tried to remember what happened next, but the only thing you can remember were those long fingers crawling up over the edge of the bed and what they felt like.
Harmony will motion for the rest of them to join her as she tries one of the doors.
Kira will go ahead and follow her direction.
Hazel will flip around towards the back.
I have an out of character question.
Okay.
Looking at the composition of the group and the neighborhood we are in, would it be smart for Aurora to be seen skulking around a fancy house?
What do you mean? You're asking if they stand out? Or if...
Well, I'm pretty sure they stand out, like I said, looking at the composition of the group. But mostly, like I said, if perhaps the cops were called, which member of the group would be the most likely pinpointed?
If the cops were called based on dress, based on ensembles and the natural biases of wealth, everyone save Kira would be disappeared into a lockup.
Aurora is going to follow towards the back, because she figures that'll give her enough time if something pops off to come up with something.
Excellent. So as the parties diverge from one another, two to the back and two to the front, into this well-to-do, well-maintained, everyday, average, normal, wealthy, not rich, courtyard building in the Kenwood neighborhood of Chicago. And it's 25 after the hour. Let's be back here in 10 quick minutes, and we'll pick up from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, folks, everybody back?
And
Back.
Yep.
I'm here, sorry.
All right, so we're going to simplify this a little bit to dive to the heart of the matter. With Hazel and Aurora sneaking around the block to get to the alley, to approach the building from the rear, that means that Kira and Harmony moving through the front open wrought iron gate would be there sooner. So we will pick up with them entering the wrought iron gate into the front of the building. Now, how are they going to choose to get inside? Are they going to go through one of the windows? Are they going to scale the building? Are they just going to go through the front door? Because one of the many secrets, one of the many realities of being as you all are, no lock will ever actually hold you. There are, of course, exceptions to that rule. There are, of course, rules to the exception of that exception. But in generality, unless, of course, you all have promised to be held by a thing, no space can bar your path. No lock will keep you out or keep you in. No handcuff will ever truly hold you, unless, of course, you choose to allow it to do so. And while the theater of security is sufficient for the mortals and those who have not been across the hedge. For you, it is simply a whispered word, a bump in the right direction. It is having the facsimile of a key. It is always knowing that no lock will ever stand between you and anything else.
Question. Does Kira's mask look the same as she does like before she became a changeling? Is that like the default form of the mask, or is it different now?
There is a difference that you and your fetch are twins, but not in any way that the average person would be able to see the exact sameness. The mind would work to find a reason that you all are different. The mind of the average person who had not been across the hedge would see those differences as accurate and true versus the reality of it. Underneath it all, who you are is exactly what your fetch looks like. The bits of Arcadia that leak through the mask only show those similarities and sameness to those who can see it. And while your fetch has full colored features and shows all the signs of their age here on this side of Arcadia, the average human mind would see you all as just different enough to not be the same.
Okay. So, like, if someone saw me, I couldn't pass myself off as the fetch then, right?
So long as they're not around, you could.
Oh, so that's only if, like, they're in the same room, that issue?
Yep.
Ah, that opens up some opportunities. But for right now, I think the first thing that Kira and Hazel should check for is to see if her father is actually home or if he's at work.
So you all are going through the window, going through the door. How are you going to check on those who may still be inside or not inside at all?
Just through the door.
There have been a countless number of movies made here in Chicago. One of the main things they typically always highlight are the courtyard buildings, the way that there's a certain Chicago architecture that is, or had been, synonymous. From the Chicago style bungalows to the courtyard buildings to the greystones, there are certain architectural milestones that speak to and always are reminiscent of Chicago. As you all open the door, because it's literally that for you. It's not a pulling out a spool of lock-picking tools or any of that. You walk towards the door, rest your hand on it, look over your shoulder, make sure that no one's paying too much attention to you all, and walk in. The door was locked. The door was barred from within. And it's that clasp lock that slams into place that's supposedly secure. For you all, nothing is in fact secure. And as you step into the hallway, the small octagonal tiles laid into a pattern that shows a phoenix. It's the wrong color. It's not red and yellows and colors of flame. No, it's a green thing that everyone has always said was a rooster. But you all see it for what it is. A phoenix. A bird that dies only to be reborn. You all see the well-loved and well-used wood panels along the sides of the walls. You see the staircase leading up to the second floor. To your right, there's the door into the condo. There's all the mail slots there on the left, and there's the hall that continues through the width of the building back to the stairs leading down to the boiler room and out the back door. There's a smell of Murphy's and Pine Sol. A small whiff and hint of bleach, letting you know that the building maintenance has been at work again today. But there's a closeness that shouldn't be here. It's as if you are trekking through a dark cave. The stalactites and stalagmites all around you, barring your path, making it difficult to move further into the darkness. Yet you all push through. And as the walls close in on you, you realize that it's too close to turn around, but going further means, well, danger. You can almost hear the spiders crawling along this side in the dark. You can feel the hundreds of thousands of eyes of the bats or whatever those are in the stalactites over your head. You can hear the constant drip of some bit of moisture falling into a pool of other moisture.
Are you sure you want to do this?
We're already here. If I wasn't sure, I wouldn't have brought everyone here.
Are there dogs?
No.
But no matter. She'll move towards the indicated door, and is there a doormat?
Yes.
She will pick it up and use hostile takeover. And from there, since Sukasa is Mikasa, she will enter the apartment.
As you open the door, now that you activated hostile takeover and you are actually entering into the space, would you be so kind as to roll Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus your word for me, please? And you get your bonus of +2, or is it +3? I forget. No, it's a +2. So you get your bonus of +2, and crossing the boundary into this place, Kira, could you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus word as well? And while those rolls are happening, on the back, in the alley, one of the many things that sets Chicago apart from most places is not simply that it was laid out on a grid from the very beginning, but the alleyways in Chicago are their own roads, many times to avoid everything to do with the streets. People park, people drive, people live in the alleys between the buildings, in those forgotten spaces that it is uncouth to be considered normal for you. Unlike the usual alleys throughout the cities, throughout the downtown area, throughout the contiguous south side of the city, unlike those on the west side of the city, here in Kenwood, the alleys are wide, brightly lit, conspicuously absent of debris. Everything put away. The garbage cans chained and locked. The normal accumulation of tossed off chip bags and cans and bottles and glass is nowhere to be seen. The signs there on each of the readily available poles where the lights hang and scare away the darkness are huge signs with a red no symbol over symbol of a huge, hairy, angry looking rat. And beneath that pole and beneath that sign, running towards you, is in fact a huge, hairy rat. Its dark gray fur, surprisingly dry and fluffy, as if it had been scared by something. As it nears you, it bounds around your feet and off around the corner and onto the regular side street. You all approach the back of this courtyard building. It stands out because, like all courtyard buildings, the back entrances between it are covered with wrought iron gates with the slats too close together to get your fingers through and get your hand through, but blocking the building from easy access. Do you all go in and through, or do you try to climb up and look through windows? How do you all try to get inside?
There's no back gate or anything.
There's a back gate that would lead through the courtyard that leads into the building, out through the main entrance. It would go through the building, down into the boiler room, up through into the back stairs, and you can go to the front of the building. Or you can go through that gate and find which porch or which apartment, which condo you are looking for. You can also scale the building.
Right. And I'm not quite that good at athletics. So going through the gate would seem to be the option.
These buildings are designed to be impressively locked. It's Chicago's version of a gated community. Normally, these buildings would have 2 families on each floor. Normally, these buildings are rife with their own nuclear community. But because you are, in fact, in Kenwood and not in Hyde Park and not in other parts of the city, the floors themselves are separate homes. So instead of the usual 12 to 36 families in this building, there are considerably less. As you turn the lock, which is part of the doorknob itself, the gate swings wide and you see that it has a spring on the inside to pull it back closed. There's something foreboding about the place, something not quite of this world about this place. It is like there is a warning, susurrus whisper, "Get out!" as the gate swings out.
Well, clearly we are not getting out, so onward we go.
Excellent.
Aurora is going to keep the gate from slamming hard. She's going to let it close, but she doesn't want it to slam because obviously giving away where we are.
So you hold the gate as it closes. And there shouldn't be a reason for it to. But it gets heavier and heavier, swinging as if it is fighting against your efforts to ease it into its closed and locked position once more. Would you be so kind as to roll your stamina? Plus your word. If you receive less than 3 successes, the wrought cold iron gate will do unspeakably loud things.
I don't know the use the glamour for this. It's just like a mechanical,
Yes.
by hand sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. You keep the gate from completely slamming. But the fact that it fought against you, the palms of your hand look as if you were playing the bongos for several hours. They're bright red and all but burned somehow, as if you have been exerting yourself against, well, forces. And as it clicks closed, there's a portion of you still connected with Arcadia that realizes, wait, that's actually iron. And not just any iron. It is, in fact, very cold hand forged iron. There's several reasons and several thoughts on why cold iron affects those of Arcadia. The most prevalent being the forging of iron was one of the first technological advances of mankind. It is a lasting, resounding symbol of their conquering the supernatural and natural world. It was them putting away their imaginations. It was them putting away the magic of their beings to embrace the world in the most banal of ways possible. But those rumors and ideas and all of that high thought, the high-minded assumptions aside, you realize that the back gate is hand-wrought iron, and the front gate is hand-wrought iron. Everything except for the doorknob is up. The strangely out of place stainless steel doorknob.
Waiting again as she catches up. So, problem. That 8, she shows her the hands. Hand pulled wrought iron. Why? Yeah, something lives here that knows about us, or is one of us, and wants to keep others like us out.
Well,
This is a problem.
it seems like we should move with a sense of urgency.
And Sororita, she doesn't full out break into a run, but there's very much power, march, jog.
Right.
Yeah, speed.
Hazel will move a little bit quicker, but she's still cautious of how and where she steps, trying to move as quietly as possible with some speed.
So down through the boiler room and up into the building. There's a such thing that an aphorism that's often tossed out, the luck of the Irish. And while you all are not Irish, many of the tales of the wee folks or the fae folks have been popularized by Irish myth. And so by extension, just like everyone else on St. Paddy's Day, you all are kissably Irish and find yourselves at the correct back door leading to the correct condo. Now you have a choice. You know that from Kira's few and far between tales of their youth, that their father owns the first and second floor, and that it has been transformed into one home. Yet and still, there still is a first and second floor, back door and front door. Which do you all choose to enter through? The first or second?
What do you think, first or second?
I am going to use my acute senses and see if I could hear where people would be in the house so that we can at first avoid them.
So crouching outside the back door on the first floor, straining through the thick wood of a door that was crafted several decades before the use of those thin, hollow wood seeming doors. Would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus larceny, and of course always add your banality or your glamour. 1, please.
Am I adding a difficulty or just as high as I can?
As high as you can. There shouldn't be anybody home. It's the perfect time of day for everyone to be out. But this is in fact Kenwood. This is in fact where the moneyed Southsiders reside. This is odd, to say the least, because there are the quiet movement of people on this first floor, and that should be an impossibility. So you all head up to the second floor, avoiding all the sounds of movement here on the first floor, and enter through the back door. It is not only child's play, it is child's play. It is a simple matter of opening the door into the most opulently lavish rear deck you have ever seen. And while it's sumptuous and it's well appointed and it is rich, the thing that it is not is warm or inviting. In fact, there is a distinct sense of foreboding. Do you all enter or do you wait here at the back door? If you would like to enter, please roll your resolve plus word.
Well, absolutely going in. And would Cloak of Leaves come into play here?
Sure. It's not exactly trying to do anything against you. It's not manipulating your mind, but yes, sure. There's an aphorism that everyone knows. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. In this particular moment, as you all look at the threshold and look at the door jamb now sitting open and as welcoming as it ever can be for you all, there is a immediate pause of all things for you. You know that once you cross that threshold, things will forever change. You're not sure how you know. You're not sure where the intuition is coming from. You're not sure why whatever this feeling is so strong. Yet, there it is. And you both pause at the door. After you. No, after you. Oh, no, after you, I insist. No, after you, I definitely insist. After you, entirely. And while you don't say those things to each other out loud, you look from the door jamb to each other and back to the door jamb, back to the threshold, and you know the most unwise thing you can do is to cross that point. While just across the building and one floor down, a similar feeling takes hold of Kira. The door is, while not a barrier of any sorts, poses a existential moment of doubt. Everything that didn't actually happen. That really wasn't you with the bored life. Really wasn't you that lived a gray and beige existence. It couldn't be, because if it was you, this would be as simple as stepping across. Yet you pause at the door jamb as Harmony steps in and feels the overwhelming sense of get out. Looking back over your shoulder, you realize that you are the only person inside of this building right now, and inside of this condo right now. You realize that, wait, where's Kira? And you look back towards the door, and they're standing there looking at the threshold as if it is suddenly sprouted 3, 4, 5 different heads singing to them. It's a small world after all.
Something told me to get out. Did I mishear that?
You did not.
She will give a cruel little smirk and say, oh, no. After you, I insist.
Yeah, about that. This is harder than it looks.
She will sigh and roll her eyes and extend her contract to Kira there.
Extending a what now?
her contract, she can, up to her presence rating, she can add people to the hostile takeover.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Wait a minute. Hostile takeover of my house?
It is impossible to feel comfortable or even welcomed by a gust of cold, frigid Arctic wind. It is impossible to feel anything remotely warm in the face of such things, yet as Harmony looks at you, you feel the loving, strong arms of Jack Frost himself settle across you. You feel the very spirit of winter eking and creeping into your bones. And the moment that it settles, causing a chill and goose flesh to raise over every inch of you, that foreboding sense of dread disappears. That foreboding sense of unwelcome evaporates. That sense of dread becomes one of, thank God I'm finally home.
That's a very interesting ability you have there to just summon up charisma on command. Thank you.
One of many. Don't mention it. Let's go push this bitch out of this house.
Moving through the apartment, moving through the condo, moving through the home that this had been, and in the moment very much feels like your home. This feels like, thank God you're finally here. This feels like all of the warm ideas of the memories that have escaped you are. You remember the piano lessons. You remember the long, wonderful evenings in the window watching the world go by. You know that if you move to that curtain right now, that you can crawl up, bring your knees up to your chest and settle into that windowsill and be perfectly comfortable. And that's the problem. The warmth you feel, the connection you have, is not yours. Part of you begins to wonder whether it ever had been yours. With what you remember of your memories and the few flashes that persist, that was a different person. And then you hear footsteps moving through the home, coming down the interior stairs of the condo. And then you realize that your father has a maid or a cleaning crew. Because there was never a chore done by the family. There was never any cleaning done. It was all, but yet when you got home, it was always immaculate. Even when he worked late, the home was perfect. Everything was in its place and had a place to be. Even the bric-a-brac. Even you. Even your sister. But there's someone coming down the interior stairs.
Kira will violently curse and then say to Harmony, I forgot that the cleaning crew would be here. Quick, we gotta hide.
Fine.
Okay, so you guys are actually going to hide. That being the case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your Dexterity and stealth, DC 3. Are those your final rolls?
You said the DC was 3, right?
Yes.
I'm fine with mine. But,
You know, I'm
Harmony
fine
can
with
have
mine.
it.
I'm fine with mine too. Maybe she says fine, and then she looks and goes, fuck it, I'm not hiding.
For some reason, I just imagine, like, you go to try and hide, and you're like, I know the best place to hide, the freezer.
Fit right in there.
There are several places that everyone automatically thinks to hide. Under tables, behind chairs, and behind curtains, closets. And then there are places where people think are good hiding spots that are not. Namely, under end tables, behind lamps, under the duvet spread across the back of the couch, behind the squeaky plastic covered settee sitting in the living room, or more specifically in Harmony's case, sitting on the couch and pretending to be a mannequin, frozen stiff. The maid, a large Jamaican man who's been cleaning your father's condominium for 20 plus years, enters into the living space, looks at Harmony, looks at the door, looks at Harmony, looks at the bucket in his hand, "What you doing, girl? Why you here?" And you can tell that's as kind as things will ever be, coming from the lips and mind of someone so nebulously here. For years, the cleaning of the condominium, the cleaning of the home, is something you really didn't think about. You've seen this man in passing, and the hate and anger that he had on his face as he passed you, you just assumed was him having a bad day. It's now that you realize that this being, this person, this cleaner, knew who you were, even though you had no idea as to who and what they did. They've been all through your things. They've put your things away. They've washed and cleaned behind every out of place thing that you've left behind. They erased traces of you on a daily basis. And 20 years is a long time, but if you were to put your finger as to how old you thought this individual was, you'd say late teens, early 20s. Even now. And at the back door, there is something immediately foreboding. It's like putting a unchecked gun on your hip. Anytime you receive a gun, you're supposed to pretend and operate as if it is in fact loaded. It's live. The safety's off and it's ready to go. But this doorway seems very much like an unchecked gun being slipped into your holster. This very much seems like a snake that at any moment could twist and back bite you. This seems like a very unwelcome mat. but it won't cross itself. What do you all do with that weight sitting there?
It definitely doesn't want us in there. Whatever it is, it's trying to keep us out. And it's giving me the heebie-jeebies so bad. I know we gotta help Kira, but I feel like it's something bad in there.
Hazel will nod, and she will take a moment and she will. Oof, where'd it go? No, that's not it. She will. And Aurora a mask. Put this on. And then she will use Cloak of Night to, help them stay a little extra stealthy.
Okay. So that being the case, being as you are helping Aurora over and through and around protection and the general foreboding, you will roll for both of you guys. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus larceny or resolve plus stealth with your bonuses from your mask?
You said resolve?
Yes.
Will be with stealth. Specialty in hiding appropriate?
Yes.
So Aurora's gonna check out the mask very carefully, turn it over in her hands, and then very gently put it on her face.
The moment you two become invisible to detection, the moment you all become invisible to perception, the sense of foreboding dissipates and you all are across the threshold. It was almost as if you slipped past the guard by giving them a magazine to read, and the flipping of the pages and the glossy spreads have caught their attention and their eye, so they don't notice you. And you are immediately aware that whatever was perceiving you, whatever was aware of your existence, suddenly is not. One of the many things you all learned in Arcadia is that places take on the energy and aspects of those that exist there. It's the reason why each of the lands of Apocrypha and Obscura and Arcadia as a whole have a different reality. The keepers therein control not just the horizontal but the vertical. as well as the diagonal. The keeper's sin, the keeper's glamour, the keeper's essence pervades every aspect of each of those many lands. And it's similar here in this home, in this condominium, in this apartment. There's a presence that is linked, or an outcropping of something dark, something malevolent. And it's easy to imagine evil, darkness, malevolency being something bright and big and all-encompassing, like clearly evil for evil's sake. But the truth of the matter, as you all stand here, is that evil is banality. It is the draining of that brightness of the life around you. It is that endless void pulling everything into itself. And that's what you're in the presence of.
Or, it's closer. Did Kira say where they saw the thing that they were worried about?
No.
So we know. Crap.
Just
we've
that
never been in here before.
Mother.
Bedroom?
Maybe? We can check.
So they are going to very carefully look for a bedroom. That seems likely.
Easier done than said. You can see where, standing across the street, you'd be able to see into the room. Standing on the back porch of the neighboring apartment, you could see into the room. And you know this the moment that you open the door, because in that huge bed, sprawled like the Vitruvian Man, is the husk of something bipedal. You've all seen snakes shed their skin, but snakes aren't bipedal, and that can't be what that is. But something just beneath the surface of your thoughts says that's exactly what that is. Sprawled there across the bed, something shed its skin. Well, downstairs, I'm not gonna ask you again, Growl. What are you doing there? And he sits down the bucket.
Who are we waiting on?
Harmony's response. Being challenged by the male maid.
She will reply, and who are you?
No, we don't do that. I fucking work here. What are you doing? And most people in this situation are finding some stranger in their place of business, in their relative work home, would have an instinctual response to call for security, whether that's the building security or the police. And the average person, when confronted with any strangeness, reaches for whatever makes them most secure. Typically, in this day and age, that's the phone. Typically, in this day and age, that's the cellular device. Typically, in this day and age, it's better to record it than report it, yet he doesn't reach for anything. He spreads his hands a little farther from his body. He takes a more balanced stance. And he, unlike the average 85% of the population, makes and holds eye contact.
Harmony was just throwing a magic around like it's candy. It's going to use paralyzing presence on him.
And here.
You're realizing that stealth is now out the window, is going to come out of hiding and will attempt to explain the situation. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you that I was bringing a friend over. I'm terribly sorry. So she's coming out of hiding now.
Okay, so would you be so kind as to roll Harmony, sorry. Would you be so kind as to roll presence plus intimidation plus your word? And Kira, would you be so kind as to roll your presence and either persuasion? Persuasion or expression.
Yes, I have 2 dice.
You got this. Make it work.
Yeah. That's better than I was expecting.
Is it though?
Oh god, I just saw the Harmony's roll.
It's good to be a Ferris.
Quick, I need a unanimous. Yay or nay?
Nay.
Yay?
All right, so we don't have unanimous. Therefore,
I'd like to clarify nay.
there are several things that happen almost instinctually, instantaneously at once. In challenging this individual and attempting to deceive this individual, a rictus mask of anger appears at the exact same time that Harmony unfurls the cool touch of their dread beauty and majesty. Their skin becomes more diaphanous, almost glowing. Their hair grows darker, and you could swear that there's no difference between what you see of them every time you look at them and the mask around them. Brilliant, bright, gleaming armor sits upon their chest and nearly blinds him. Instead of raising a forearm or finding sunglasses or otherwise trying to shield his gaze, he stares in clear, angry, rage-filled awe. His mouth open to say something that's died on his lips. His mind is clearly racing behind those bright, exposed, open eyes. And even though it's not being directed at you, Kira, you can tell, you can see how it would be very easy for those not in the know to mistake Harmony for one of the many keepers. A bright and terrible thing it is to behold. Now, mentally bullying this individual, does Harmony rise to her feet, or does she become coldly and cruelly dismissive in the unfurling of her aura?
I would say the latter.
And with such fantabular success, with the hands of fate placing all of his wagers on your shoulders, such a use of contracts, such a use of magics, has its own inherent cost. Would you be so kind as to roll your composure and two glamour for me, please? Your DC, of course, is 3.
Composure +2 or composure with 2?
Composure +2. There's a balance of power. There's an ode to understanding that the strength of the sword is actually in its sheath, not on the edge of its blade. Harmony didn't use the flat of the blade. Harmony didn't use the sheath. Harmony used every edge of its blade. Which would be so kind as to go ahead and mark off 1 additional banality, i.e. a glamour point, and there's a feel that happens when the essence of dream, the essence of Arcadia is utilized. There's a almost burning Coriolis effect around the changeling that taps into the very rich, unfathomable essence of Arcadia. And it makes every other changeling's heart skip a beat. It makes every other changeling immediately aware of that outpouring of power. And this is exactly what the gathered members of this particular motley feel as Harmony unfurls what they are, their aura rocketing around them, spreading across the building and bombastically bombarding to me. That feeling of as close to a facet of home tearing through the building is a clarion call. Eyes brighten, the mask around each of the gathered members of the motley slightly shivering while harmony unfurls themselves. A little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. And the being, the creature that exists here and has always existed here has a little knowledge and is in fact a very dangerous thing. And the smacking of its shields and resolve from harmony unfurling themselves causes the building to vibrate with a hiss. And with that sitting over the motley, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode, and I'll see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
You and your cliffhangers.
Night all.
Good night, everyone.